Okay, welcome back to this series on communication and consultation skills. Today we're going to talk about how to demonstrate the skill of being more person-centered during your consultations, during your exams. If you've been finding this series helpful, do like and subscribe to the channel so you get notified when we publish a new one each week. So what are some of the ways that you can actively demonstrate being more person-centered during your consultations? Well, you're probably familiar with the concept of ideas, concerns, and expectations. Where appropriate, you can explore and take on board a patient's ideas. What do they think might be going on? Their concerns. Are there specific things that they're worried about? And their expectations. So there might be something specific that they were hoping to achieve today. Now, I mentioned where appropriate. That's because in some cases, the patient might give you some of these and there's no benefit in you asking about all of them. In fact, it can sometimes look like you're not paying attention. I'll give you an example. If a patient comes in and says, I'm sure I've got a chest infection, can I get antibiotics? Because they've made it very clear what their idea is. They think they've got a chest infection. They've made it very clear what their expectation is. They want antibiotics. And if you ask them, have you had any thoughts what might be going on? They're going to think, this doctor's not listening to me. And they're probably going to say that. I just told you. I'm sure it's a chest infection. Similarly, if you ask them, what were you hoping for? Was there something specific you were hoping for? It seems robotic. It seems like you're asking it for the sake of ticking in an imaginary box, but it actually shows you're not paying attention. You are going to probably lose marks for a lack of active engagement and active listening. What you might do is find out why they think it's a chest infection. Maybe they've had one in the past. Maybe they know someone who had a really bad pneumonia and ended up in hospital. Okay, you could explore what they're worried about. And that could be triggered by a past experience, for example. And you could acknowledge that you've heard what they've said. Well, you've mentioned that you think it's a chest infection. Can I ask, what makes you say that? Is that something you've had before? And, you mentioned about antibiotics. Have you had antibiotics in the past when you've had a bad infection, for example? Or do you know someone, what's their worry? You might explore that. Do you see? So exploring ideas, concerns, and expectations where appropriate. Something else that you can do to be more person-centered is to find out about and take account of how this is impacting their life. And a good way to do that is ask what I call the Mars bars questions. In the 80s and early 90s, Mars bars used to have an advertising campaign that a Mars a day helps you work, rest and play. Okay, so I'll ask if this has had an impact on their work and find out what their work is. If it's having an impact on their home life, that's the rest, right? Okay, and who's at home with them? And if it's stopping them doing the things that they normally enjoy doing. For example, if I'm a golfer and I've got a problem with my knee, that's going to have a bigger impact on me than someone who they really love to play on the PlayStation. And so the fact that their knee's bothering them, yes, they still want to know what's happening. They want it to get better. They need appropriate painkillers. They might need physio, but it doesn't stop them playing PlayStation. Whereas you can see if that patient had a sprain of their wrist or their thumb and they couldn't play, they were, gamer and they stream, that might have a bigger impact on them than, someone who has got a problem with their knee and they're a big golfer. Do you see? So work, rest and play. You're finding out how it affects the things that are important to any person. We care about our livelihood, our work. We care about the people that we live with, our rest. We care about our hobbies and our interests, our play. And that links in nicely to, again, being person-centered. You want to find out about the person as a whole. So, of course, you want to look at the physical aspects of the illness, but you also want to look at the social and psychological aspects and how that's being affected, so that you're getting a picture of them as a whole. Finally, you can involve them in decision-making where appropriate. And, that will help you to demonstrate the skill of shared decision-making. Now that is a whole topic in itself, so we'll do a separate video. In fact, the next video in this series will be all about shared decision-making and how to do it appropriately and how someone might do it in a way that would lose them marks. Okay, so if you found this helpful, do subscribe, do share it with your friends, and I hope to see you on the next video. Prepare and you will succeed.